Hello and welcome to the ROKER RAPPORT EXILES podcast. I'm Brett Lyons-Davis, and today on the pod we'll be talking about, the main big story, Phil Parkinson, the new gaffer. We'll also be mentioning the Exiles are off to Wycombe this weekend, our brand new and exciting game made by one of the guests, and I'm calling it Playing Away, and also some more of your stories on the road. If this is your first time listening to the Exiles pod, we are Sunderland fans exiled across the globe. Some, like me, never lived in Sunderland and were cruelly raised by Sunderland supporting parents who gave me no choice in the matter. We have the likes of two of my guests today who are from Sunderland and moved away. And then we have lunatics who just picked us, we got under their skin, and they've never looked back. Speaking of which, here's Bomber from Colchester.
Not from Colchester, mate.
Where are you from?
Gloucester.
It's all the same, isn't it? It's all the same.
Doesn't even sound like he's from Colchester.
No.
That was so slick.
Keep that in, Sean. Try again, mate.
Right.
Take two.
Keep it in, man.
Where are you from? Gloucester. Colchester.
Gloucester, yeah.
Gloucester.
Mate, Gloucester, yeah.
Right.
Colchester's, I don't know, like 2.5 hours away at least.
Right. Speaking of which, here's Bomber. Fucking hell. You're from Gloucester?
Gloucester, mate. I always have
Gloucester.
been. Yeah. The last three times you've introduced me, I've been from Gloucester as well.
Oh, I should have had that beard.
Everybody needs a Bomber press and exit conversation in their life. And stuff like that, you know what I mean?
It wasn't
Everyone needs a...
on Niall when you had to disappear because someone reversed the truck into a caravan.
That was unbelievable, that, like. And then I had to explain to my boss the next day how I couldn't stay at the scene when it happened because I had a podcast to record.
Priorities, Niall, priorities.
And the podcast didn't even get released.
Right,
No.
We need to carry on, by the way.
Yeah. Speaking of which, here's Bomber.
From Gloucester.
Nah,
Hello,
please.
Brett. Hello, Brett. Here again. Happy to be here.
How are you, Bomber? You well?
I'm very well, yeah. Not too bad at all.
Good man. Thank you very much for joining us. We've also got, when I say we are across the globe, we've got Martin Wanless all the way from Australia. Hello, Martin.
Good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is. How are we all?
We're very good, mate. Well, at the moment, it is Thursday evening. So what time are you there?
Yeah, 6 o'clock Friday morning.
6 o'clock Friday
Early start.
morning. Blimey. And I must have just say, we actually were going to record this yesterday. So we've got you up twice, 2 days running, haven't we?
You got me up. I went back to bed for half an hour yesterday, but that's all good.
Yes,
There was
unfortunately,
news.
it was Phil Parkinson, delayed his coming just basically to get you back to, lose some sleep.
That's right. Thank you, Phil.
Yeah, thank you very much, Phil. And lastly, by no means least, we are joined by Niall Bromley, normally in the south of France, but today you're back over here. How you doing, Niall?
I'm good. I'm in sunny Blyth. It's lovely here.
So you've left this because you're south of France, aren't you?
I am, yeah. I've just popped. Well, I haven't been back in the UK for 9 months, so I've just popped back for a few weeks.
And obviously, you're on our little road trip on Saturday, aren't you? Going to the game.
What are you talking about? That's the only reason I've come home, man.
Don't think you're me drinking Carling on Saturday.
Oh, yeah. Do you have to tell everybody, like, yeah, we'll go. In come the stick. Yeah, I'm drinking a couple of cans of Carling.
Fair play to you, mate. Fair play to you. Now, and so for have interest, because I know I mentioned this to Martin the previous one about sort of like his kids having sort of like Sunderland shirts and things like that. Yourself, how does that go down to like with the locals in France? A Mackham.
Well, I mean, nobody has a clue who we are really, and 9 times out of 10, which is I've actually got a story which kind of proves that. It was last year. I was in Montpellier, which is a little bit west of where I was this year. Basically, it was World Cup final day and France were playing Croatia, and my phone was knackered. So I says, before the game, I still had work to do and stuff. I says, I'll go walk down to town. I'll get my phone fixed and that. So I left. Walking down the road, I was wearing my Sunderland shirt, and there was a bunch of Croatians who must have been on holiday. So they're all singing and they've got the horns and stuff and going mental and drinking. And the seen my red and white shirt, and I think they were that pissed. They must have thought, this is another Croatian. I mean, I look nothing like a Croatian. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know how they thought that's going to come over And they're circling, isn't that, playing their horns and all that, and they're dancing and singing. And so I'm thinking, all right, nice. So I danced and sing with them and started shouting with them. So then they're like, where you from? And I says, oh, I'm English. They says, oh, you want a beer? And I'm thinking, oh, it is. My girlfriend's back in the, doing work. I've still got work to do. My phone's broken. I should really, if I want to watch the match, I should really get myself sorted. So, of course, I had a beer.
It's a silly question.
Get a beer over. So I ended up having this beer. Bearing in mind, my phone's knackered, so I kind of get in touch with my girlfriend or anyone to see where I am. So 4 hours later, and probably about 70 Jaeger bombs later, I'm in a bar with all these Croatians going absolutely mental, going crazy. And then, like I say, it was time for the game to kick off. So I ended up going back to where I was working to go to the bar to watch the game. Totally, like I say, phone's still knackered, work still hasn't been done. I've got my girlfriend comes to the bar. She says, where have you been all day? So I says, well, they offered us a beer. So, I couldn't say no. They've offered us a free beer, and I've been drinking Jaegers with them. And I just got absolutely hammered all day with these Croatians, like totally random. Totally random. And yeah, I wasn't in the good books with my girlfriend, like, or my boss by that. But yeah, it was a really good day. A little bit random, but that's probably the only time I've ever, because of what I was wearing, I've ever ended up getting noticed and being pulled into something.
Well, 3 beers wearing a Sunderland shirt's not bad, is it? So.
Well, I thought it was a Croatia shirt, like, but I.
But it wasn't Carly that day, was it?
No, it wasn't. Like, see, well, the Jaegers and that, man. It was like in the morning. It was like I'm on Jaegers and just with these random Croatians going mental in the street. I haven't got a clue. Like, that day was a bit of a blur, to be honest with you. Like, but it was a good day. It was a good day.
Oh, good day. Exactly the same sort of day you're going to have at Wycombe, then, I suppose.
Less Croatian.
It's going to be fun.
Right, let's talk about, though, the big story of the day. Obviously, Phil Parkinson has taken over the reins. To say he's split opinions is, quite clear to see. Promoted with Bolton, promoted with Colchester, promoted with Bradford, also took to a League Cup final. Martin, I'll start with you. What's your initial thoughts? Are you behind him?
Oh, look, I think now it's all done and dusted. We're obviously all going to be behind him and hope he does bloody well, because we need to go up however we do it. Ultimately, I just think it shows how far we've sunk, really. I think it's a really League One appointment. Yes, I know we're a bloody League One size. That's really another sign that we're behaving like a League One club. I think there was so many potential other opportunities to get somebody in who would really galvanise the whole club, and we've missed it. But look, some of the things you read about him from fans of other clubs sound pretty good. Others don't sound too good. I was on a Bolton Wanderers forum last night to gauge their opinion, and I felt like throwing the bloody iPad out the window. So I think it's one of those. It's done, and we have to see how it goes, really.
As I don't think anyone's, with the fans at the moment. I know I've seen a few people put on Twitter and almost saying, look, we've got to get behind him. I do think it's a bit of a silly statement to make. I think we all, say we all support Sunderland. If he does well, Sunderland have done well.
That's right.
And then that's what we all want. Bomber, yourself, I know you say you've sort of made comments about it online, but how do you feel about him coming on board?
So I didn't really know how I felt about it. So as you said, I wrote an article for ROKER Report and I put something on, and it was quite clear that my favourite at the time was Paul Cook. When it was quite clear that he wasn't coming and it was down to the kind of an Ainsworth Parkinson scenario, I was a bit non-fussed about it, really. And when the announcement came out this morning, I was kind of like, okay, right. So I wasn't really too down about it, but equally it didn't really excite me. And I think that's kind of at risk of getting a few pelters back. That's kind of what we need. We need some of the hype to be taken away. Yes, the expectation is going to be there, but we don't need a manager who's going to come in and be bigger than the club and be a big fish in a small league. We need somebody who knows the league. We need somebody who knows how to get out of the league. And yeah, okay, he might do the job and he might struggle in the Championship, but then there's nothing stopping us in 18 months' time or 2 years' time going, right, okay, he's served his purpose. We now need a proven Championship manager to get us out to that next level. And I think fans need to look at it at stages. It's not a case of Parkinson's coming in and he's going to be our man for the next 6 years to hopefully take us to the Premier League, because in reality, he's probably not going to do that. But what he can do is make us a bloody good League One team with a bit of an identity and, with a proven track record of getting people out of this league. He came into Bolton, which has been an absolute shit show for however many years. In his first season, he got manager of the month, I think 3 times in that season. I think he got it twice in the first 3 months in charge. His first time of asking got him out of League One, despite not being able to sign any players, because Bolton had a transfer embargo going on, so they could only get free transfers or loans. And in those same conditions, he kept them up in the Championship. I think they only made 1 signing in that summer that actually cost any money. I think they spent like 200 grand on McGuinness. The rest were free transfers and loans, and he galvanised that club to the point at which they were solid. They didn't do very well last season, or the last season in the Championship, but the season before that, he managed to keep them up on next to nothing. And that's exactly what we need. We need somebody who knows the league, can get us out of it, and then can help keep us up. So am I excited by it? No, not particularly. Do I think it's the right appointment? Yeah, possibly. And if you look at what he's done with Bradford, he got into a League Cup final. Bradford, a 3rd-tier club, got him into a League Cup final, and got them promoted as well out of a 7th place finish. So I'm going to get behind him. I can't wait to see the guys on Saturday against Wycombe, and I'm quite pleased I'm going to be there for his first game.
No, and I think, as I said previously, the crowd. One thing on Saturday, no matter who can say the decision, it doesn't get the blood pumping. I think we can agree on that. Yeah. But the crowd on Saturday will no doubt be more than up for this game. You can read whatever you want on Twitter, but in real life, the Sunderland fans will give him 100%. Niall, and I do think he's got a little bit of he's got to get winning quickly. But for yourself, what were your thoughts on it? Has he got a honeymoon period at all? Has he got to win games instantly, or will he have a bit of saving grace?
It's a great appointment. I think it's a great appointment. To be honest, people are saying they're not excited by it. I am excited by it. This guy knows this league inside out. He's won this league. You know what I mean? He knows the Football League. He's been at big clubs like Bolton, like Charlton, like Hull, and he didn't do well at Hull and Charlton. He's got all that experience of not doing well in these leagues, and he can build from it, and he's learning from it. And at the end of the day, for me personally, I think the owners have obviously looked at the fact that we don't need to pay compensation for a Gareth Ainsworth or someone like that. You don't need to do it, or a Paul Cook, because we've got a guy who knows the league inside out. Like I've just said, he's done remarkable things in the past. He got Bradford to the League Cup final. They were League 2 at the time. They beat Arsenal in the running. They beat Aston Villa, who were a Premier League team at the time. Like, this guy, he might, it might not be this massive, it's not Roy Keane and it's not Kevin Phillips and it's not one that people want for nostalgia, but he's got everything that he needs in the bank to make this work. And I really don't understand a lot of people who are a bit down about it, are a bit upset about it. I seriously don't think there is a reason to. But because of that, you are right in what you're saying. He doesn't have a honeymoon period. I think if we do lose on Saturday, he's going to have to win every game after that. Otherwise, people will turn already against him because, like I say, people aren't sure. But for me, I think it's a fantastic appointment, and I'm delighted with it.
Yeah, so I was saying, admittedly, I wasn't necessarily excited by it, but I don't see that as a negative. I think that's exactly what we need, is somebody who's actually not going to get everybody carried away, and actually, hopefully, people will take a step back and go, do you know what? He has got the pedigree in this league, so let's just trust him. Let's just trust that the owners know what they're doing. Let's just trust that Phil Parkinson knows what he's doing.
No,
let him get on with it.
No, Bommy, you're totally right, because, like you say, it keeps heads level, doesn't it? And that's the beautiful thing about this. But, like, for me personally, it doesn't keep my head level, because I just think it's a great appointment. I think it's so, like, not sensible in the sense how Simon Grayson was a sensible appointment, but sensible in the sense that his CV was just the best for the job, and we haven't had to pay compensation because, like I say, he was already there, and we haven't had to go get a Paul Cook. I'm for it. Yeah, if we lose one next 5 games, fair enough, whatever. But seriously, I'm delighted with it. Totally am.
I think it's a positive that Stuart Donald had a very popular choice begging for the job in Phillips, and that would have been an easy appointment for him to make. Popularity would have been fine. The crowd would have been behind him for 10 games at least. He was had a grace period, and he's chosen what he knows is going to be an unpopular option, which kind of gives me a bit of confidence that it could be the right one.
Yeah, but it's unjustified why it's unpopular. I think it's a little bit. It doesn't make much sense to me. But like you say, like Kevin Phillips come on Talk Sport, didn't he? And he's saying, I applied for the job, I wanted the job. But Kevin Phillips, he might need a few more years doing what he's doing, and then Kevin Phillips can come in. Whereas at the minute, I would love Phillips there. I love Kevin Phillips. I grew up with Kevin Phillips, but the way that this club is at the minute, because we're uncertain what's happening with takeovers and stuff like that, we need someone who knows what he's doing, has experience, knows the league, and Phil Parkinson ticks every single one of them boxes.
Yeah, no, I think the reason that I'm frustrated that we're in this position to appoint Phil Parkinson, to be honest, rather than the appointment itself, because you look at the start of last season, the only possible positive about going down was going to be building something that would see us, do us well longer term. Build a system, build a young group of players who were going to grow and flourish with us. And we haven't done it. And we're back in the position where in October, we're thinking, oh shit, this season isn't going to plan. We need a different route. And it's just the same thing as we've had for the past 10, 15 years.
Yeah. Let's say there's been some absolutely fantastic points raised, and I'll be honest, I can't help not listening to Niall when I'm excited already about Saturday. I think anyone who's listened to what Niall talked then has literally blown any kind of self-doubt away. And I think we're now literally going to go out and win about 5-0, just literally hearing Niall's passion there.
Probably it's going to backfire massively. We're going to be 3-0. Gareth Ainsworth's going to be able to do a lap of honour.
What I love, all the Sunderland fans on Saturday driving to the game will have this podcast on, listening to it, feeling about 10 foot high because of what.
All because of Niall. All because of Niall. Well done, Niall.
Happy to be here, lads. Happy to be here.
I suppose, and it does become a difficult question though for Saturday now, where normally we'd sort of discuss the team and who we think will be sort of coming in, going out, where all of a sudden it's because Jack Ross did get very predictable, and the amount of times that we were doing these pods and we could pretty much pick what he was going to do, we're into the unknown now. Does Parkinson all of a sudden go for Grigg up front? Does he go for Wyke up front? It's into the unknown a little bit for us.
That's a massive question, that, by the way, Brett, because for me personally, the key is get Will Grigg scoring, Sunderland go get more. If you get the form out of Will Grigg, what he's shown every time he's been in this league, that's what Phil Parkinson's probably looking at. But then he's got the headache because Charlie White was a player he tried to sign, and then Miles a lot when he was at Bolton. So maybe, I don't know, will he look at the Niall Quinn, Kevin Phillips, big and little? Will he look at that? I don't know, but that is going to be very interesting. But for me, the key is unlocking Will Grigg, setting him back on fire.
It is. That's the first thing he's got to sort out, and it will be really interesting to see what he does, because he likes to play with the one central striker and two wingers. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does. But completely agree with Niall.
I think Parkinson, like all the research, I say research in the loosest sense of the word, that I've done, suggests that he prefers a big guy up top. And a lot of the Twitter backlash has been like, oh, it's going to be long ball football and hoof it football and this, that and the other. It's worked for him, and to be honest, I just want to get out of League One. And if that means we play long balls up to Charlie Wyke, who knocks them down, and McNulty or Grigg or McGeady scores the goals, I really couldn't care less how we play for the rest of this season if we're winning games. I'll worry about our style of play and being actually entertained at a football match once we're in the Championship, trying to push for the Premier League. But at the minute, I don't know about you three, but I'm getting sick of League One, and I want to get out of here by hook or by crook.
I've always said I couldn't care less how we played. If we won every game 1-0, I'm happy with that. Especially because, end of the day, I've never understood this. We're not privileged enough to have a team at the top of the Premier League where you're paying to get entertained. We've got we want grafters who are going to put a shift in, win football matches, and as you say, get out of League One. That's the be all and end all has got to be to, as you say, get out of this league.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we win every single game rest of the season 1-0, I'd be very, very happy. But I will move on, because we can't this weekend. We can't still go into too much detail of what his team's going to be. I think that'll be for future pods. Because of that, now Martin, the other day in our WhatsApp group, came up with a fantastic idea. We've all jumped on board of it. We're all 100% behind it. A brand new feature for the podcast. I've called it Playing Away just because I did. Now, what we're going to do is based on a Sunderland away game from the past on this day. Now, as I said at the beginning of the show, we did actually we were meant to record this yesterday. So I actually picked a game on the 16th of October, 2011. It was Arsenal 2, Sunderland 1. Now, I'll give you a little bit of information about the game. And so you can have a little think about sort of like who was playing, because I want you three need to come up with the starting 11 and see if you can name all those players. So I'm going to judge how good you are as Sunderland fans and see what your history is like. So,
and disclaimer, if this is rubbish, it is all Martin's fault.
100%
completely my fault.
So as I say, it was Arsenal 2, Sunderland 1, 16th October 2011. Van Persie scored for Arsenal in the 30th second. Now, I was actually, funny enough, at this game, and I went down with a couple of us, it was me and my dad, and a couple of Arsenal supporting mates. A few beers beforehand. By the time we got to the ground, there was a massive queue to get in, and as we were walking up, we heard a little muffled noise. Didn't think anything of it.
Noise? What was that noise?
like a baby deer.
It was a lost cat.
We had this little muffled noise as we were going up the stairs. Didn't think anything of it. Thought it might have been like maybe a free kick or something, or a foul. Got to our seats, sat down. 10 minutes in, looked at the scoreboard and realised we were 1-0 down. So Van Persie scores after 30 seconds. We actually did equalise from a free kick, which is a bit of a clue for you. And then Van Persie again scored in the 82nd minute to make it 2-1. Steve Bruce was our manager, and we wore our light blue Umbro Tombola shirts. So
I had that shirt.
For the first
that was quite
time,
nice shirt.
it was actually was a lovely. We should wear blue more often, personally.
Yeah.
So for the first and maybe last time, as we play Playing Away, and I will start with Martin first, as it's his game. Martin, can you name any of that first 11?
Right, well, that free kick was a cracker, I reckon, from Seb Larson.
Yeah, easy one.
If I'm remembering the game, cracker, wasn't it? It's probably the best free kick he got for us, like in a technical sense. It was about 70 yards out or something, I think.
Wasn't there when I was a free kick as well? Wasn't there when I was screaming free kick, man?
Yeah, Van Persie scored a free kick for them as well. So two really good free kicks. But Larson for us, I always really liked Larson. But one of the things about it, because I'm sure at one point he was the second or third, most free kicks scored in the Premier League, or maybe there's some stat like that. But I can only ever think of two that he scored for us. One was against Arsenal, and the other was Blackburn
one. O'Neill's first game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You got one against Stoke when we beat them 4-0 at home.
That's the one I remember, yeah.
Yeah.
So his free kicks weren't bad, but I really liked him as a player. He scored some really good goals for us.
I miss Seb.
I miss Seb. I think we all do. Right, so Martin's got the first one.
So that was coming towards the end of Bruce's reign, I think, wasn't it?
Quite possibly.
I reckon Bruce got sacked in the November of that season.
He didn't last long, did he? I know it was before Christmas he got sacked, so it might have been that season. You know, I wouldn't quite remember, but you might be right. Niall, do you fancy having a stab at it then, if you can name any of the first 11?
Yeah. I've just been trying to do it in my head. I'm pretty sure Mignoli would have been in net.
Yeah, Simon Midley in goal for us. Again, we went for a real good stage of having quality goalkeepers.
We had too many of them.
You know, even if you look back to when we had the Sorensens, the Pooms, we've Midleys, Pickfords. We've had really good goalkeepers. And then who did we have 2 seasons ago?
Lee Camp.
Camp. Quite possibly the worst keeper I've ever seen in my life. He's still letting him in at Birmingham.
Still throwing him in for Birmingham, yeah.
Absolute clown.
No, he was. But yeah, Simon Mignolet in goal. We actually bizarrely went to we was at a game. Do you know when we lost 7-2 to Chelsea? I'm sure it was Chelsea. I'm sure it was that game, because we went down, me and my dad, and there was a bloke on the tube with us who had literally gone to see Mignolet play, and we lost. He was actually from Belgium, but he was from his village. So he came all the way from Belgium to watch Mignolet play, and we got stuffed. I'm sure it was a 70. It might have been 70. We lost 3. we lose a lot at Chelsea, didn't we? So I've never seen us win there. But yeah, come all the way over, and we lost as usual. So we've got Simon Mignolet, we've got Seb Larsson, Bomber.
Phil Bardsley must have been in there, was he?
I don't think he would have been.
Bardsley wasn't. He wasn't in there. No. We had someone...
So that means I know who was playing right back. It would have been Craig Gardner, wouldn't it?
Craig Gardner was on the bench.
Gardner was on the bench. Yeah.
Craig Gardner was on the bench.
Kieran Richardson, left back.
Kieran Richardson, left back. There's actually a massive clue for you. There's one of 4 players in this team who have scored against the Mags. Ooh. So he obviously was one of them, with quite possibly the greatest free kick any of us have ever seen.
Callback.
Jack Callback. He's also in there.
Shall I go and get a drink? And you two, let me know when you finish.
Come on, Bomber, come on, throw one in.
So I was going to go Mignolet before Niall quite rudely stole it. So I'm going to go for the other obvious one, is my hero, Lee Barry Catamol.
Lee Barry Catamol, captain of the day. Yes, he was.
Should have scored. He had a header from point blank. Keeper made an unbelievable save.
So we've got so far we've got Mignolet, Richardson, Callback, Catamol, Larsson.
Darren Bent.
No Darren Bent whatsoever.
If there's no Darren Bent, then another one of my heroes, old Stefan's got to be in there, surely. Sessegnon.
Stefan Sessegnon up front, correct.
Yeah.
You're doing all right, you like this, actually.
I'm struggling now.
So he was also one of the players who scored against the Mags. You've got one more player in that team who scored against them. And he scored on I'll give you a clue, he scored on the Canio's 3.
David Vaughan.
David Vaughan. There we go.
Yes, Niall.
David Vaughan. What a goal.
I'm scared, Martin. I didn't know I was allowed to answer anymore.
Do you want me to whiz through the rest of them? You've only got 3. You actually done really well, actually. I'm quite impressed with you boys.
Wes Brown and John O'Shea, one of those two must have been in.
They were both.
Bang. John O'Shea, Wes Brown. I don't think you'll get the other 2, actually. Not that they're unknown players, but I've
got one more guess, because if Larsson, Vaughan, Callback, Richardson are in there, I reckon Elmer was in there as well.
Oh, do you know what? That's what I thought you weren't going to get. I was going to line them up with the Egyptian Beckham.
Yes.
Elmer Hamady's in there. And then the last one to get it is Michael Turner.
Oh, of course, Michael Turner, yeah.
Forgot he existed.
That's exactly those players you just completely forget ever played for Sunderland.
So was he playing at where was he? So we were playing with 3.
John O'Shea would have been right back, wouldn't he?
Brown or O'Shea must have been right back.
It was John O'Shea, Michael Turner, Wes Brown, and Kieran Richardson. Unless I had 3 at the back, and then had Richardson and El Mohammadi as sort of like wing backs. Yeah, it could have done that. If we're playing Arsenal, we'd go defensive, wouldn't we? So
yeah, especially away.
There you go, chaps. So
I always remember Michael Turner for that free kick that he took against Liverpool that put Torres clean through to score.
Oh yeah, that was funny.
Michael Turner's crowning glory in a Sunderland shirt. He was still playing last season, wasn't he? He played against us last season.
Yeah, he played against us for Southend.
Was it?
Brett, why did you pick a defeat there? Like, what's going on?
Because
you know what I mean?
to be fair, mate, it's quite hard to find us when we win games.
That's true. Yeah.
It's not rich pickings for me, is it?
Could have just picked the Newcastle game, Brett. We win those.
Yeah.
But I had to pick one from that day. You see, had I done today, I could have done the Liverpool beach ball game. But I couldn't do it, could I? But I'm not doing this twice. So if you really, really enjoyed playing away, just let us know. You could do it every single
I enjoyed it. So well done, Mark.
Yeah, great. God, because everyone's praying now not for an international break, because that means this game's going to get wheeled out every time. Right then, what we have done though, we did actually put another little question out to Twitter this week. Obviously, with us being the Wycombe Road Show on Saturday, we want to hear some of your stories from on the road. And again, the tweets we get are really, really funny. I do really like these tweets we get. So the first one was from at Typical Sunderland. This is one very close to my heart. So grew up in southwest London and now live in Reading. So I try to get to as many away games in the south as I can. I get quizzical looks every time I speak to SAFC fans at games and have to tell them my story. Now, obviously, someone with an accent like me does not grow up in the Northeast, and I often get quizzical looks when they hear my accent. There was actually another game at Arsenal, funny enough, and we lost, funny enough, where a guy next to me went absolutely ballistic. Something happened to the pitch. I think it was like a foul or someone dived, and all he got was, "You effing Cockney this, you cheating Cockney that, Cockney this, Cockney that," for about 30 seconds. Every word that came out of his mouth was either Cockney or swearing. Calmed himself down, looked at me and went, "No offence, mate." So, it's, I'm pleased that he knows the accent, but you do get very strange questions, about it. Another one actually about accents was from Mick Stacey, who's actually fellow Exile podcast star John Stacey's dad. My problem was in 1974 in Sunderland, having my then girlfriend stop me going to the bar in town, as I was getting the dirty looks having a different accent, being from Wallsend, even though decked in red and white after a home game at Roker Park. Another one that we had here was actually mentioned being caught in the home end. It was Andy at Easygoing Malloy, being caught in the home end once or twice. Walsall last season with my Walsall supporting father-in-law. 2 mags behind us singing Rafa's name. Well, obviously, so they're always in the home end, aren't they? 2 mags singing Rafa's name for 90 minutes. Could not stay seated when we equalised. Sharp exit needed. Say, personally, I've been in the home end away games twice, and I hate it. I hate having to sort of be quiet and watch what you say. Bomber, yourself, and you'd done something down at Nottingham Forest, didn't you?
Yeah, so something very similar. Not so much a shirt, but it's a lack of. Well, I was wearing Sunderland attire anyway. So if I can paint the scene a little bit, it's the 28th of December 2004, Nottingham Forest versus Sunderland. I travelled down on my own because, unsurprisingly, no one else in Gloucester seems to support Sunderland. Certainly none of my friends. So I travelled up to Forest, watched the game. I think it was Stephen Elliott put us 1-0 up, and then I think it was Andy Reid equalised. So it was 1-1. So just to set a bit of the scene as well, I'm sat in the Brian Clough stand, so I couldn't get an away ticket. So in the Brian Clough stand with all the diehard Forest fans, they were shouting abuse at the likes of Liam Lawrence and Julio, just constant abuse for the whole 90 minutes. As you might imagine, 28th of December, it's absolutely freezing cold, and I've got a Sunderland coat on. All right. So, so I'm getting looks, I'm getting comments, I can hear murmurs behind me of people going to fill me in, etc. So I take my coat off in the hope that it's going to save me a little bit. Now it's December the 28th. It's absolutely freezing cold. It was like -4, -5. And I've just got a T-shirt on underneath. So I'm sat in the Brian Clough stand in just a T-shirt, catching mild hypothermia, trying to remain as neutral as I possibly can, or at least not give the game away too much. The steward comes up to me, sees me absolutely freezing, blue in the face. He's like, "Are you all right, mate?" Yeah, no problem. You got a coat there, why don't you put it on? And I had to just flick it up, show him the Sunderland badge, and he went, okay, yeah, come and see me after the game, after the final whistle. So I was like, right, okay. So we went and stood down by the pitch side. And those of you who do remember that game will remember Marcus Stewart coming on in the 90th minute and Marcus Stewart scoring the winner in the 92nd minute. And just as all the Brian Clough stand was sat down bemoaning, I couldn't help but jump up and shout, "Yeah, come on, get in." In which case, thousands and thousands of people immediately turning to me. I pretty much shit my pants and went straight to the steward before the game had even finished. And I was like, "Can you help me out here?" And he actually guided me out through the concourse and back out before the game had finished. And I basically had to just run to my car, get in the car and make the couple of hours trip back home to Gloucester. Just couldn't contain myself, but it was absolutely freezing. There's 2 things I remember from that game: was being absolutely freezing and that Marcus Stewart goal, and celebrating it with everyone else just sat down, just staring at me. It was horrible.
I remember that game. It was horrendous traffic. We came down from the northeast for it. It was horrendous traffic. We got there at half time, and we were, oh crap, we missed half the game. And that Marcus Stewart goal at the end, that made it all worthwhile being for. That was class, that way.
Yeah, I went crazy, but it was a very bad idea.
I was in the away end. It was all right.
Took them all on. Niall, I believe you've got a story from your Twitter, actually. A story about a salt shaker.
Yeah. I quite enjoyed this, actually. I had a little giggle at this. someone called Connor Gardner on Twitter. He tweeted saying, got locked up in Liverpool in 2009-2010 for stealing a salt shaker from a chippy down there, like when I was smashed on cheap vodka. Let me out for the coach home, like, because I was an emotional mess. Don't mix your drink, kids, especially underage. So that's what he said. So obviously, I wanted to know a little bit more about the situation. So I then tweeted him back saying, like, was it a nice salt shaker? Like, there must be a reason he's went out his way to steal his salt shaker, which I then got more to the story. So he then says, Bob Standard, white foamed plastic shite, right? But he said, thought I was hilarious running out with it in the air, throwing it at my mate, shouting, "You've been assaulted." Now, I found that really funny, and it's really immature and probably not that funny. But I was beside myself laughing at that. Like, and then he said until he was pummeled to the ground by police, and he still gets anxious when he sees Anfield on the telly. But I mean, you know, we've all been daft and we've all been, you know, out with our mates and stuff, and we've all. I mean, I've never personally stolen a salt shaker, but I mean, I've done other daft things. But that's tremendous. I mean, it's great effort. I appreciate that story. It was a very nice tweet.
That was a fantastic tweet. Anybody getting arrested for stealing something in Liverpool? There's some sort of joke I could go down there, but I'm not going to do it. So we've got one more tweet. Actually, this was also from Andy at Easygoing Malloy, and he just had one where he was at Birmingham away under Bruce, lost 2-1, which then kick-started 11 games without a win. We went down on my birthday and accidentally stumbled into one of the pubs that Birmingham fans advised us not to go in. Got chatting to a bloke outside who seemingly granted us access. 8 Sunderland fans in a sea of blue fans. Either the bloke was well respected or the Brum fans were taking the piss. Now, there's always something you've got to be quite careful about. Like, going to away games is sort of finding out what the pubs you can and can't get into. I know whenever we used to play Spurs, I used to do the home and away legs with a couple of mates of mine. Like, we'd say and going up to Sunderland, they used to love coming up to Sunderland because you could drink, like, as away fans can drink in pretty much any pubs. As long as you don't take the piss and you're not being like singing and you're being daft sort of thing. The Sunderland fans are quite welcoming and like friendly, and you know they've never had any issues whatsoever. But going down to Spurs, you can't drink anywhere near the ground. Now, obviously, I'm going to like with them anyway, so they've got Spurs shirts on, so we can go in the pubs, no problem. I obviously can talk anyway; it doesn't matter about mine. Like, my dad will just sort of keep his mouth sort of quiet, and no problem, we can have a beer. But one day, one of the lads wanted to go to another pub to meet some mates. He goes, "Oh yeah, you'll love these lads. They're good guys, sort of thing. Come with us." So we went into like deep in like the heart of Spurs territory, and this pub was a shithole. It was the biggest dive you've ever seen, but it was full of, I can only describe them as geezers, like literally wall to wall Tottenham geezers. Now my he's quite big. He's like 6'4" and about 18 stone. He's a big lad. But it was actually Gareth Bale's last game. So we're out in the beer garden, and again, you're so tight, you're holding your pint to your chest because you're so tight, sort of thing. And he's chatting to his mates, and all of a sudden he puts his arm around my dad and goes, "You know this guy here? You know Trev? He's a proper Mackham. Proper Mackham is Trev." And we were thinking, Clive, shut up, because you're going to get killed here. I've never drunk a pint so Dad, let's just go. And we were gone. That split second, you just see like almost like a Wild West film where the whole pub turns around and stares at you. It was very, very uncomfortable. But no, thanks again for your stories from Twitter. They're always good fun reading those. One thing we did ask as well, though, was for some Exile branch news. And the Thames Valley Mackhams have got in touch with me. They're at TV Mackhams. Now, they've got their first meet-up for the Shrewsbury game. And they're actually looking for some advice and some help. So they need a good pub to meet up with. Like meet up with all the other lads. So any good pubs for a meet up for the TV Mackhams, so Thames Valley Mackhams. A few suggestions have been thrown out for them as the Station Hotel and Admiral Benbow. But yeah, anyone else can help them at TV Mackhams. And one of the times you might be meeting up because he's actually obviously in my area, the Thames Valley. So I might meet up with the guys at the Oxford game. And that's always one good thing about, I say, it was like Sunderland fans being so friendly. Bomber, I know when you had a bit of a story, was it for one of the Wembley games? Was it the playoff final?
Yeah, so it was a playoff final, yeah. So I know our fans, well, certain sections of our fans are taking a bit of a kick in. You know, this story is basically testament to how brilliant Sunderland fans are. So playoff final, on my way down to Wembley, obviously pretty much the only guy going down to London, or not to London, but certainly to Wembley to support Sunderland. So I get on the 6 o'clock bus, National Express, down to London, and going down on my own. And I was like, well, you know, I'm on my own. I'll have a good day. I might have a pint somewhere, watch the game, have a pint somewhere else, and then head back. And as I was going down on the journey, I was like, oh, do you know what? Sorry, I'll put something out on Twitter. So I put something out on Twitter, and it got a bit of traction. Basically said, are there any Sunderland fans going to Wembley today who want to adopt a Southerner? And there was something along the lines of, you know, pros of me tagging along is I'll buy me around. Cons of me tagging along is I sound like a farmer, and you have to put it with my dodgy accent. And it got quite a bit of traction. I think ROKER Rapport retweeted it, a couple of other people retweeted it, and actually had a couple of offers through. In the end, I had one person DM me and say, "Oh, hi Bomber, you know, if you're getting in at around about 11:30, 12 o'clock, me and my mate, we're going to be in Covent Garden. We're going to be in the Shakespeare's Head in Covent Garden. Feel free to come down and have a beer with us." So I was like, "Oh, do you know what? Yeah, okay, same." So I got off the bus, went straight to the tube station, got the tube to Covent Garden, got on my phone, obviously Google mapped how to get to Shakespeare's Head, went in there, and lo and behold, 2 fellas there, Martin and Steve, were there. Went over, introduced myself. I said, "Oh, are you Martin and Steve? Yeah. You Bomber? Yeah. All right, same. What can I get you?" Sat down, had a few drinks with them, went to the game with them, a few tube cans, and then we obviously had different seats. So I went off, watched the game, met back up with them on Wembley Way, and went and had another 2 or 3 hours worth of drinking with them at the end of the game to drown our sorrows. And for me, that made that experience a million times better. So I'll be grateful to them, although the result wasn't great. So Martin and Steve, thank you very much. And yeah, top blokes they were. It was a great day, irrespective of the result.
That's great to hear. And that's what I say, the Sunderland fans are the very best. So yeah, it's good story. Good story there, Bomber. But that is us then for another Exiles pod. So, you know, really just to wrap up, if you enjoyed our fantastic new game, #playingaway, use that, let us know what you thought of it. If you hated it, it was all Martin's idea. But no, guys, thank you, Bomber. Thank you, Niall. Thank you, Martin.
Pleasure.
Make sure everyone comes to party with the Exile lot on Saturday.
Yeah,
as well.
That's it. Exactly. Come join me, Bomber, Niall, you know, and say the rest of the
very
lads
jealous
that
I'm
are
missing
going.
out on that one.
Yeah, but apparently Martin can't go. Apparently, it's too long a trip.
it's a disgrace, Martin. To be fair, that you're not coming over from Australia.
Disgusting.
Part-timer. Terrible.
Yeah.
But thank you very much. We're going to have a great day Saturday, especially when we win 4-0, because now that Niall's pumped us all up.
Yeah, come on,
Parky's Army.
Take care of yourselves, and away the lads.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, thank you.
It was
Good
good
crack,
fun.
that.
That was
Yeah.
good.
Once I go over my shit start.
Oh yeah, he
No, I've
needs to
forgotten
keep
about
that
that.
in. He needs to keep that in. Like, I'll be
Yeah.
gutted if he
Oh.
edits that out.
I've
Yeah.
kept
That was
recording.
Bomber from Colchester.
So we can do it. So.
Colchester, and then re-record, and then tried to redo it, and went for Colchester again.
Should definitely. I hope he keeps that in. I mean, that's
yeah.
part of the beauty, isn't it?
He'll keep it in. He'll keep this bit in because he's an arsehole. Right, I'm turning it off.
All right.
All right,
See you
cheers,
Saturday,
guys.
guys.
Cheers, boys. See you later.
Cheers, see you Saturday.
Have a good
Bye.
day.